Bonjour à tous, un petit message avant de lancer notre nouvel épisode. Merci de continuer à nous soutenir en écoutant le podcast, en le partageant autour de vous et en venant à nos événements Banh. Ça fait 3 ans que l'on a commencé cette aventure Banh et du fond du cœur, merci. C'est un épisode très particulier que je vous propose aujourd'hui car c'est la première fois qu'on enregistre avec un invité en anglais. J'espère que vous allez aimer cet épisode hors du commun. Très bonne écoute à toutes et à tous. Banh, c'est le podcast qui explore le mélange des cultures occidentales et asiatiques. Banh Podcast se déguste sur le pouce, entre amis ou en famille, à toute heure de la journée pour partager un bon moment et échanger sur des parcours de vie inspirants liés à l'Asie. Banh est un podcast créé et réalisé par Linda Nguyen et je vous retrouve un dimanche sur 2 pour un nouvel épisode. Pose-toi avec moi et écoute ce que je t'ai préparé. Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode de la saison 3 de Banh. Pour ce nouvel épisode, on est toujours accompagné à la vidéo de Sébastien Kong et son équipe, Vincent, Eugénie, Julie, Cédric. Et aujourd'hui, on enregistre un épisode en anglais avec un réalisateur qui nous vient de Corée du Sud, Jason Yu. This is an episode in English for Banh Media. I would like to apologize in advance for my English.
No, it sounds very good. You seem very natural.
Our guest today comes from South Korea. He's a film director. He worked closely with Bong Joon-ho as first assistant director. And
one of the assistant directors, not first assistant director.
One of assistant directors, sorry. And we saw him in Cannes Festival in 2023 for his first movie.
Oh yeah.
Sleep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
Okay.
Nominated for the Critics Week and Grand Prize and Golden Camera. And you just won this weekend the top award, the top prize of Gérardmer International Fantastic Film Festival. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gérardmer.
My guest for this episode is Jason Yu. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you. I would like to apologize in advance that my English, my French is very limited. But merci beaucoup for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Merci, Jason. How do you feel winning the top prize at Gérardmer this weekend?
Honestly, I didn't expect it. It was an incredible shock, but it's a great honor. You know, France is the nation of cinema, and having been able to show my film first, have it premiere in France, and now having it shown in the general genre cinema audience of France, I thought it was such a great experience. I love Gérardmer Film Festival. It was my first time visiting there, and compared to how peaceful and small the town is and how beautiful the town is, I was very surprised to see how many die-hard genre film fans they were. The energy they had watching the film, I was very inspired and touched almost. And to have Gérardmer with such a great audience for genre films choose my film as the grand prize, I was very, very, very honored.
Sleep has been released last year in the US and Canada, and it will be released in a few days in France. Yes. I will read some critics found about the movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
A phenomenal debut, a movie that rises to an incredible climax that should have people talking. And another one, from the plot to the direction and then performances, Sleep is not only the best horror film of the year, it's one of the best film of the year.
What? Who wrote that? Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
I found them on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's very cool to see like this kind of critics.
Wow.
Sleep is a black comedy horror mystery thriller. The film stars Jung Yoo-mi and late Lee Sung-kyun, who played the two protagonists of the film, Soo-jin and Yeon-soo. The story focuses on the conflicts between this newlywed couple due to the husband's mysterious behavior in his sleep.
Yes.
How did you get the idea of this black comedy, horror, thriller movie for your debut as a film director?
I think at first I just had a surface level fascination with sleepwalking. I think just like anybody else, I think everybody once in their lives comes across a horrifying sleepwalking incident, whether that be on the internet or the news. Maybe somebody jumps off a building when they're sleeping, or somebody drives a car when they're asleep, or somebody harms their loved ones in by their bedside when they're asleep. And I was fascinated and shocked by these stories and wondered what these people's everyday lives would look like. How would they even function day to day? And more importantly, I was more curious about the people who have to be around them, their loved ones who have to be by them every single day of their lives. How would their lives look like? And I thought exploring this would make an interesting horror film, and I think that's where it began.
What I enjoy the most in the movie is the portrait of this family. So the wife is earning more than the husband.
Yes.
Yeah, they both talk about sex freely.
Yes.
The wife is doing the best she can do to understand her husband and try to save the family and their home. And they kind of are breaking the picture of the family that we are used to see in South Korea or in society, generally speaking.
Yes.
So why did you choose to picture the family like this?
That's an interesting question. It wasn't my intention to have some sort of social commentary about families or genders in this film. My main goal was to just create a fun horror film. That being said, a lot of the story comes from my personal life, and like the husband character, who is an unsuccessful actor. When I was writing the screenplay, I was an unsuccessful filmmaker. I was unemployed. I had nothing going for me. I had very low self-esteem. And just like the wife character in the film, my wife was always and still is financially and socially more successful than me. And I, just like the film, the husband character in the film, I oftentimes had very low self-esteem and confidence about my abilities as a filmmaker. And whenever I showed those sort of instances, my wife would say to me, like, Sujin, no, you're the best. You can do it. You'll see. You'll show everybody. And that's sort of, I think that those characteristics were all melted in the characters of the films. And yeah, I think it's not really about how I view, the society or something I'm trying to say. It's just a reflection of, I guess, my personal life. But that being said, I think any film is a reflection of the people who make it, maybe a director. And a reflection of a person is a reflection of the society he or she lives or breathes. So how I view society and how I view the world, I think inevitably is scattered within sleep.
There's also the intergenerational subject that you emphasize in your movie, the modern society healing with medicine.
Yes.
And the older generation turns toward magic, religious, shamanistic forces. This is something that I can relate to as being Asian, like Vietnamese and Cambodian. And then I have got like a lot of stories from my mom telling me about ghosts and so on.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So
interesting.
What does this relate to the belief in Korea?
I think it might be the same for you, but I think Korea is very paradoxical and contradictory in some ways, because they rely heavily on medical science, when they get a small cut or when they have a light cold, they run to the hospitals and find a doctor and want them to cure them. And they go to the pharmacies to have medicine to heal and cure their illnesses, their maladies. That being said, if we group about 10 Koreans in one room, I'm kind of willing to bet at least 5 of them has visited a shaman, has consulted a shaman to maybe guide them for a better life. Maybe they want them to shoo away a negative ghost or welcome a positive ghost for prosperity, for wealth, and for success in one's career, etc., etc. So these two things, I think, are very contradictory, but somehow they find a way to coexist, and somehow it just works in Korea. So I think that might be a reflection of that part of Korean society.
Banh Mi is the name of the media. It's the mix of Asian and Western cultures, like the famous sandwich,
Right.
like the baguette brought by the French in Asia,
For sure.
and Asian ingredients, like brought by the Vietnamese people into the baguettes.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's true, right? So it's not a traditional Vietnamese cuisine. It's like a fusion.
It's a fusion,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
but now
yeah.
it's an iconic sandwich, very well known in Vietnam, and
absolutely. Yeah.
And I always ask my guests how they can connect with Asia. I will ask you how you can connect with the Western cultures.
How to connect with the Western culture.
Yes. How do you connect with the Western cultures?
I don't think it's. I think it's relatively easier to connect with Western culture than to connect with Asian culture. Although I think the presence of Asian culture is starting to gain a lot of attention and is gaining traction. But Western culture always seemed to be very easy to find just by its big presence. In theaters, almost or even more than half of the films are Western films, and that goes the same for TV shows. So I think just living your life in any part of the world is your gateway to Western media. I think we're already so much influenced by it, and I'm also very happy to see that Asian culture and Asian work is growing in its size and influencing the world. Maybe not as much as Western media and culture, but I think it's growing, and I'm very happy to see that. I think, and it's thanks to the attention of Asian media and Asian work, such as cinema. My film Sleep is also gaining a bigger attention than I anticipated, and I thank the predecessors who paved the way to provide me with such opportunities.
So I learned that you grew up in UK. How was it like to be like a Korean kid growing up in England?
I was in the UK from 3 years old to middle school, so roughly 8 years. It's funny because I rarely think about that time now. I almost forget that I was in England. I just consider myself 100% Korean almost.
Okay.
That being said, looking back at the time, there are a lot of cultural differences, and it's many people talk about the identity crisis of having to be not being Asian enough in Asia and not being Western enough in the Western world. But I think I was a bit too young to struggle with that concept. I was just a silly little kid, with bad grades and who liked to mess around a lot. And maybe I was a bit too young to even remember that period well. Yeah.
Do you have any inspiration or influences in movies from France or Western cultures and from Asia?
From yes, all over the world. French cinema does very well in Korea, especially among filmmakers. So I'm not sure if we are able to watch all the films in France, but at least the films in the festival circuit are always imported, or they're released in Korea. So even this year, one of my favorite films is Anatomy of a Fall by Justin Triet. I was very happy that she was nominated for so many awards in the Western world. And in America. And I think, as I mentioned before, France is the nation of cinema, I think. And I don't think anybody, any filmmaker has not been influenced by French cinema, whether that be, Jean-Luc Godard or François Truffaut, or even the more recent people like the directors like Michel Gondry or Jean-Pierre Jeunet. And there's a constant emergence of great French directors. Even the people that I've met at Gérardmer Film Festival, the French genre films are also interesting and inspiring. So yes, I don't think anybody has not been influenced by the greatness of French cinema, and that goes for Western cinema and Asian cinema as well. Just the vitality and the enormous presence of Western cinema, you can't help watch a lot of American films. I'm willing to bet that in Korea, at least, they watch as much Western films as Korean films, just by how much it's out there in the world. And there are a lot of great Western directors that I love. I really love Steven Spielberg and the more recent directors such as David Fincher, Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, and even the emerging American directors I really love. And that goes for Asian cinema as well, whether that be Korean. I really love Korean cinema because it's the country I live in. I love director Bong Joon-ho's work. He was kind of my gateway into loving film. I remember watching Memories of Murder and thinking that there is someone behind this film, there is a genius behind this film. Before that, I just watched the films as a consumer, it was my hobby to have fun. But after watching Memories of Murder, I realized somebody made this, a brilliant mind made this. And it got me thinking about the craft of filmmaking. And it got me to realize that there are people who do this as a job, like you guys. It's a career for some people. And before that, I didn't even think it was possible. But it was then that I realized, maybe I should try this route. And so I love Asian cinema, including Korean cinema. I also love all the great Asian directors, whether that be Koreeda Hirokazu or I want to go every country, but I think that might be a bit too gratuitous. So I'll just say I love Asian cinema. I love all international cinema.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
I'm also in a collective called DV+. It's DV+, yes. It's a collective for more diversity and inclusivity in the cinema to get the industry more accessible to the younger generations who wants to work in this industry in France. So we organize talks, workshops, mentorships, and you were talking about like the low self-esteem that you could have being a filmmaker in Korean, and as you said, like at that time, like don't have like the project that you want, or like maybe like having the syndrome of the imposters. And so you work closely with Bong Joon-ho as an assistant of the direction in OKJA movie. He was kind of also your mentor, I guess. What did you learn by working with him?
When I graduated from university, my first job was being in the assistant directing team of OKJA. It's quite different. It's a different system from the United States, where I think there's a first assistant director and a second assistant director, and that's probably it. But in Korea, there's an assistant directing team with it constitutes about 5 to sometimes 10 people who kind of assist the director in creating the film that he wants. And I was the lowest of this team, which meant I was the lowest of the maybe 150 people of who worked on the film. That being said, I worked from pre-production to production, post-production, and even promotion, and I was lucky enough to be beside director Bong every step of the way. So I had the opportunity to observe him, direct and sometimes prepare films, edit films. And at that time, I was too busy thinking that I was learning anything. I didn't think I was learning anything. I was busy, trying not to ruin the film by making mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but trying not to ruin the film by mistakes. But when I began to create my own film, Sleep, I realized that I was trying to mimic consciously and unconsciously what I observed director Bong do in OKJA, in my film, in every step of the way. And it was then that I realized that everything I learned about filmmaking, I learned from OKJA and director Bong. Another bad thing I learned was a very sobering fact that he is a genius, and I quickly learned that I am not. I always knew I'm not. I believe that director Bong is a genius filmmaker, and I'm just a lucky, normal person who had the opportunity to create his first film. And not that. So I realize that I can never be as good as those great directors, but I'm still trying my best to make my best version of a film that I can.
What can be the advices that you can give to the young generation of filmmakers that want to follow your path?
I think I'm not worthy of giving advice, but if there is anything to learn from my case, it's that anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. That's number one. Number two is that I think it's never too late, as a teen, unlike my filmmaking peers, my friends who loved cinema from day one, I wasn't that case. Up to my teens, I remember just being a normal film goer. I would only go to the theaters once or twice a year just to watch the biggest blockbuster. But then what happened was, in my 20s, in my university years, I coincidentally enrolled in a creative writing class. I was forced to. I didn't want to because my major was economics. But there I met an American novelist who introduced me to a lot of great films. And that's how my love of film began. And because I didn't go to film school, I think that's where the low self-esteem comes from. To this day, I'm not very technically savvy. For example, I don't know how to operate a camera or shoot. I'm very bad at cinematography. So I guess a great tip I can give is what I did, is know your limitations. I think every director has their strengths and their weaknesses. And maybe it's a pride thing, but many of the times on set, a director doesn't want to show their weakness. They want to have this feeling that they have mastery over everything, of every single aspect that goes into filmmaking. But I think I was very open about what I did know and what I didn't know, and because I was very open about it, I consulted the professionals, like the cinematographers and the editors, the production designers, and I really outsourced their help. And so it was a very, and because of this honest, upfront conversations that we had about our own limitations, I think we had a very beautiful collaboration, and we made the most of what we could. Does that make sense? I'm not sure.
Yes, yeah. I can totally relate on what you're saying, because I never been did some study about journalism or like media whatsoever, but I just launched my media out of nowhere because I wanted to see something that I could relate to and identify when I was a teenager, to have like more Asian representations on the public space. And I don't know about this, but I just like jump into it. So.
Wow, yeah, that makes sense. And I like how you said jump into it. I think a lot of directors say that, just jump into it. But it's really very true, I think. Once I realized I want to be in the film industry and become a filmmaker, the first thing I did was, after my military service, I enrolled in I signed up for the student filmmaking club. It was a unofficial club with not many professionals. So what we did was we made short films every semester, and we showed it internally with each other. They were very bad, but we loved making them, and I think it was great practice. And it didn't have to be professional. I know a lot of, even now, short films are incredibly beautiful and professional, made with professional gear and crew and staff. But when I did it, it was with, for example, my friends and family. I remember my father holding the boom mic and my mother holding the camera, and we just had so much fun making it. And it was fun as well as practice. And I think even looking back at my experience of creating Sleep, it wasn't much different when making these silly little short films with my friends and family. So I think this practice and jumping in is also very important. Just keep doing it, Yeah.
And as you say, like asking, not to be scared to ask questions to the people that has an expertise in, so maybe they can also help you and then like guide you in your journey.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody who's on a film set, it's their goal to make this project as best as they can, I think. And you don't want to be just because of your pride and not wanting to admit that you don't know anything. You don't want to limit yourself, of the possibilities you can bring when you really have upfront and honest collaboration, I think.
Is the like the collective that I'm being part of, DV+, it's I think the key is also like the transmission and sharing skill that is very important for the next generation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The world got the news of the death of one of your actors.
Oh, yeah.
Lee Seung-kyun, that brought a movement from leaders in the Korean entertainment industry, including the director Bong Joon-ho, by emerging the Association of Solidarity among Cultural Artists. Why do you think it's important nowadays to have solidarity among artists?
Wow, that's a question I never thought about before. But I think any sort of solidarity among any group is incredibly important. Within any profession, there are systematic problems that have to be solved that isn't possible with just one person, with one person's will. They all need to be in agreement. As a collective, they have to solve this problem together. And I think that goes for any sort of problem that any group is going through, especially if it's systematic rather than just an individual. And that's the case of Lee Seung-kyun's death as well. I think his death was incredibly tragic, and it raised awareness of how we could prevent something like this in the future, and to do that, I think there are a lot of moving parts that need to happen with a solidarity of a collective group. Yeah,
I think it's more and more important nowadays that you have like a mental health, like being a pressure. So like with everything that we can see in the social media, like with the media, like generally speaking, and like to have this kind of group that you can relate to, and then like being in a safe place.
Absolutely, also. Yes, I agree 100%.
Banh Mi is the name of the podcast. So you tell me that you ate banh mi before, right? What is your favorite ingredient in the banh mi?
We went to, my wife and I, we traveled, I think it was last year, to Vietnam. We went to Da Nang and Hoi An, and there was this great banh mi shop that had a ridiculously long line, and we thought, that place, just look at that line, it must be really good. And so we decided to wait in line, I think for about 40 minutes in the hot weather. We were sweating like crazy. And we ate this shrimp banh mi. Yeah. And it was the best banh mi that I ever had. And just because of that, I really want to go back and revisit that place. So I'm guessing, so I have to say shrimp. But I think the most important thing is the baguette.
The baguette,
that it has to have this combination of crunchy on the outside, but soft and chewy on the inside. Yeah, I think that's the key. What is
the dish that reminds you home?
The dish that reminds me of home is I think it's as a Korean, it has to be kimchi. Do you have a lot of kimchi here?
In Korean restaurants.
In
yes.
Korean restaurants,
yes.
Yeah. It's an ingredient. It's a dish that we serve whatever the food is. So if we see kimchi, it just signifies that it's Korean. And when I'm traveling abroad, I always kind of yearn for kimchi. Yeah, it's very cliched, but it's true.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you just discovered and would like to share with us connected with Asia? Like it can be a book, a film, a TV series, a dish, or a person?
Well, I can talk about... I can talk about a couple of great Korean films that I saw this year or last year. One is titled Concrete Utopia by the great director Tae-hwa. It was Korea's choice for the Oscars. It's a great film with one of the greatest Korean actors named Lee Byung-hun Lee. And I highly recommend this film. It's great entertainment. It's about Seoul. Because of a great earthquake, every building has crumbled except for one apartment complex. So the people who live in this apartment want to defend their home from outside intruders. And it's a great commentary on Korean society and how we live as a society and just how selfish people can be, as well as being great entertainment and a great genre film. So I highly recommend this film. Yes. Thank you.
Banh mi is like life. What you will bring to your banh mi to make it even more tastier? Like which ingredient you will put to have a more healthy life, or
literally or figuratively?
Figuratively.
Okay. Literally, I would. I like butter, and I don't like cilantro.
Cilantro,
yeah. So I don't know how I can take that and apply it to life in general, but I'll try my best. Oh yes, not liking cilantro, I think is learning what doesn't work for you, learning what's bad for you. I'm not saying cilantro is bad for you. A lot of people love it, but for me personally, just for me, I don't like eating it. And while making sleep and releasing sleep, I realized, my wife taught me that you have to cut away all the things that you find negative. For example, reviews, whether that be positive reviews or negative reviews. I found myself being very addicted to them, and especially the negative reviews. The positive ones are great, but they evaporate very quickly. But the negative ones, they really scar you for a long time. And so from that point, I remember my wife telling me, you are forbidden from reading reviews now. And since then, I don't read reviews of my work. So it was great to listen listen to you read them. I think it's like that, you know. Life is short, so if it's not really a learning experience or a growing experience, I think you can do away with stuff you don't like from your life, and you know, just enjoy the stuff that make you, you know, happy. Yeah, like butter. Or shrimp and good baguettes.
Thank you very much, Jason, for this interview. So every episode is finishing with the music of my guest.
Oh, yeah.
So which music do you want to finish this episode with?
Wow, that is hard. Like a pop song or a...
Like the music that you are listening like right now, you know, like in the airplane, or like that you are addicted to, or
currently I'm addicted to the soundtrack of Miyazaki Hayao's latest film, The Boy and the Heron. It's such a beautiful piece by Joey Hisashi, I think his name was. It is just such a wonderful and moving compositions by Joe Hisashi. I hope I got that right. And I listen to it on the plane when I sleep, and I highly recommend it. There's something very peaceful and happy and hopeful and also sad about it. It's like a mixture of these emotions. And also, if you haven't watched the film, I also recommend it very much. But the soundtrack is what I would like to have as the ending of this podcast, if it's possible, if you don't get copyright strike or anything.
The first episode of Banh with an inspiring guest coming from South Korea.
Oh, yeah? Oh, it's a great honor.
Yeah, congratulations for the top prize at Gérardmer Film Festival, and hope to see your next movies very soon.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And once again, thank you, France and the Gérardmer audience, for enjoying my film so much. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, guys.
J'espère que vous avez aimé cet épisode avec Jason Yu. C'est un épisode exceptionnel dans l'histoire de Banh, le premier épisode en anglais, avec un jeune talent qui nous partage sa culture coréenne, son cheminement en tant que réalisateur, et je suis reconnaissante de l'avoir reçu pour son premier film qui a déjà conquis le cœur des Français avec son Grand Prix en janvier dernier au Festival du film fantastique de Gérardmer. C'est un tournant dans l'aventure Banh que de créer des ponts entre les cultures, et notamment avec des talents venus d'Asie, et aussi avoir la chance de rendre disponibles nos épisodes en anglais pour offrir ces entretiens inspirants à plus d'auditeurs et d'auditrices. Pour soutenir le média et pour continuer à le faire vivre, partagez, commentez sur YouTube, mettez des étoiles sur Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer ou sur vos plateformes de podcasts préférées. Vous pouvez rejoindre la Banh Community en adhérant à l'association et soutenir le collectif en vous offrant le merchandising créé par la team Banh. Retrouvez-nous sur notre site internet banh-mi.co. Vous retrouverez également tous nos épisodes de podcast, articles de blog et le merch de la team Banh. À très bientôt pour les prochains épisodes de la saison 3 de Banh.